after a little, and Satan said, "It is as I told you. I am only a spirit." "Yes, one perceives it now," said Nicholas, "but we are not spirits. It is plain he did not see you. But were we invisible too? He looked at us, but he didn't seem to see us." "No, none of us was visible to him, for I wished it so." It seemed almost too good to be true, that we were actually seeing these romantic and wonderful things, and that it was not a dream. And there he sat, looking just like anybody, so natural and simple and charming, and chatting along again the same as ever, and well, words cannot make you understand what we felt. It was an ecstasy, and an ecstasy is a thing that will not go into words. It feels like music, and one cannot tell about music so that another person can get the feeling of it. He was back in the old ages once more now, and making them live before us. He had seen so much, so much. It was just a wonder to look at him and try to think how it must seem to have such experience behind one. But it made you seem sorrowfully trivial, and the creature of a day, and such a short and paltry day, too. And he didn't say anything to raise up your drooping pride. No, not a word. He always spoke of men in the same old indifferent way, just as one speaks of bricks and manure piles and such things. You could see that they were of no consequence to him, one way or the other. He didn't mean to hurt us, you could see that, just as we don't mean to insult a brick when we disparage it. A brick's emotions are nothing to us. It never occurs to us to think whether it has any or not. Once, when he was bunching the most illustrious kings and conquerors and poets and prophets and pirates and beggars together, just a brick pile, I was shamed into putting in a word for man, and asked him why he made so much difference between men and himself. He had to struggle with that a moment. He didn't seem to understand how I could ask such a strange question. Then he said, "The difference between man and me, the difference between a mortal and an immortal, between a cloud and a spirit." He picked up a woodlouse that was creeping along a piece of bark. "What is the difference between Caesar and this?" I said, "One cannot compare things which by their nature and by the interval between them are not comparable." "You have answered your own question," he said. "I will expand it. Man is made of dirt. I saw him made. I am not made of dirt. Man is a museum of diseases, a home of impurities. He comes today and is gone tomorrow. He begins as dirt and departs as stench. I am of the aristocracy of the imperishables. And man has the moral sense. You understand? He has the moral sense. That would seem to be difference enough between us all by itself." He stopped there, as if that settled the matter. I was sorry, for at that time I had but a dim idea of what the moral sense was. I merely knew that we were proud of having it. And when he talked like that about it, it wounded me, and I felt as a girl feels who thinks her dearest finery is being admired, and then overhears strangers making fun of it. For a while we were all silent, and I for one was depressed. Then Satan began to chat again, and soon he was sparkling along in such a cheerful and vivacious vein that my spirits rose once more. He told some very cunning things that put us in a gale of laughter, and when he was telling about the time that Samson tied the torches to the foxes' tails and set them loose in the Philistines' corn, and Samson sitting on the fence slapping his thighs and laughing, with the tears running down his cheeks, and lost his balance and fell off the fence, the memory of that picture got him to laughing too, and we did have a most lovely and jolly time. By and by he said, "I am going on my errand now." "Don't," we all said. "Don't go. Stay with us. You won't come back." Yes, I will. I give you my word. When? Tonight? Say when. It won't be long. You will see. We like you, and I you. And as a proof of it, I will show you something fine to see. Usually when I go I merely vanish, but now I will dissolve myself and let you see me do it." He stood up, and it was quickly finished. He thinned away and thinned away until he was a soap bubble, except that he kept his shape. You could see the bushes through him as clearly as you see things through a soap bubble, and all over him played and flashed the delicate, iridescent colors of the bubble, and along with them was that thing shaped like a window sash, which you always see on the globe of the bubble. You have seen a bubble strike the carpet and lightly bound along 2 or 3 times before it bursts. He did that. He sprang, touched the grass, bounded, floated along, touched again, and so on, and presently exploded. Poof! And in his place was vacancy. It was a strange and beautiful thing to see. We did not say anything, but sat wondering and dreaming and blinking. And finally Seppi roused up and said, mournfully sighing, "I suppose none of it has happened." Nicholas sighed and said about the same. I was miserable to hear them say it, for it was the same cold fear that was in my own mind. Then we saw poor old Father Peter wandering along back, with his head bent down, searching the ground. When he was pretty close to us he looked up and saw us, and said, "How long have you been here, boys?" "A little while, Father." "Then it is since I came by, and maybe you can help me. Did you come up by the path?" "Yes, Father." "That is good. I came the same way. I have lost my wallet. There wasn't much in it, but very little is much to me, for it was all I had. I suppose you haven't seen anything of it?" "No, Father, but we will help you hunt." "That is what I was going to ask you. Oh, why, here it is." We hadn't noticed it. Yet there it lay, right where Satan stood when he began to melt, if he did melt and it wasn't a delusion. Father Peter picked it up and looked very much surprised. "It is mine," he said, "but not the contents. This is fat. Mine was flat. Mine was light. This is heavy." He opened it. It was stuffed as full as it could hold with gold coins. He let us gaze our fill, and of course we did gaze, for we had never seen so much money at one time before. All our mouths came open to say, "Satan did it," but nothing came out. There it was, you see. We couldn't tell what Satan didn't want told. He had said so himself. "Boys, did you do this?" It made us laugh, and it made him laugh, too, as soon as he thought what a foolish question it was. "Who has been here?" Our mouths came open to answer, but stood so for a moment because we couldn't say "Nobody," for it wouldn't be true, and the right word didn't seem to come. And then I thought of the right one and said it. "Not a human being." "That is so," said the others, and let their mouths go shut. "It is not so," said Father Peter, and looked at us very severely. "I came by here a while ago, and there was no one here, but that is nothing. Some one has been here since. I don't mean to say that the person didn't pass here before you came, and I don't mean to say you saw him, but some one did pass, that I know. On your honor, you saw no one?" "Not a human being." "That is sufficient. I know you are telling me the truth." He began to count the money on the path, we on our knees eagerly helping to stack it in little piles. "It's 1,100 ducats odd," he said. "Oh dear, if it were only mine! And I need it so!" And his voice broke and his lips quivered. "It is yours, sir," we all cried out at once. "Every heller." "No, it isn't mine. Only 4 ducats are mine. The rest—" He fell to dreaming, poor old soul, and caressed some of the coins in his hands, and forgot where he was, sitting there on his heels with his old gray head bare. It was pitiful to see. "No," he said, waking up, "it isn't mine. I can't account for it. I think some enemy. It must be a trap." Nicholas said, "Father Peter, with the exception of the astrologer, you haven't a real